All right, let's talk about one of the most electric figures from China's Three Kingdoms era. This was a time of epic civil war, and right in the middle of it was a man named Sun Jian. His life? Well, it was like a firework, incredibly bright, incredibly loud, and over way too fast.
Yeah, that's right. People didn't just call him a general. They called him the Tiger of Jiangdong. And let me tell you, that name fit him perfectly. This wasn't just some guy in charge of an army. He was more like a force of nature you just unleashed on the battlefield.
So, how does the son of some minor official end up with a nickname like the Tiger? Well, that's the whole story, isn't it? This isn't about some prince inheriting a kingdom. Nope. This is about a guy who built his legend with pure guts and just an absolute refusal to ever back down.
So, let's get into how he started forging that reputation. Our story doesn't start in some grand palace, nah. It begins out in the provinces, where a young guy was about to pull off something, well, pretty dramatic.
And this is a really important point. Sun Jian wasn't born with a silver spoon. His family were local gentry, sure, but not high-level nobility like some of the other warlords. So he was basically an outsider. He couldn't rely on a fancy family name. His reputation had to be built on what he did.
And get this, he started at 17. 17! I mean, at that age, most of us are just trying to figure things out. But not Sun Jian. He has his first big hero moment, you could call it, and it's the thing that really kicks off his entire legend.
Okay, you have to hear this story. He sees this gang of pirates just hanging out on the shore, dividing up their loot. So what does he do? He just charges at them by himself, waving his sword around, pointing, shouting, basically acting like he has this huge army hiding just over the hill. And the pirates? They totally buy it. They drop everything and just run for it. This incredible act of pure bluff and nerve, it lands him his very first government job. Amazing.
And look how fast things move for him after that. The pirate thing, that wasn't just a one-off. He goes on to prove he's a real leader during the huge Yellow Turban Rebellion. And because he was one of the few guys actually fighting for the dying Han Dynasty, they rewarded him. He becomes a marquis. I mean, at this point, he was officially a big deal.
All right, so he's made a name for himself, but now we get to the part that really cements his legend. This is the war against the tyrant Dong Zhuo, and trust me, Sun Jian is about to become the only real hero in a coalition full of fakes.
So you have this grand coalition of warlords, right? All supposed to team up to take down the tyrant Dong Zhuo. But what did most of them do? Pretty much nothing. They just sat around, bickering, trying to look important, and doing everything they could to avoid an actual fight. But Sun Jian? No way. He was the only one who actually did what they said they were going to do. He marched straight for the capital to take the fight to Dong Zhuo. And man, did he fight. He wasn't just showing up, he was winning. He beat Dong Zhuo's top general, Hua Xiong. He even made the legendary warrior Lu Bu, the guy nobody could supposedly beat, fall back. He was the first one to march into the capital, Luoyang, and take it back. Think about this. Dong Zhuo was so scared of him that he offered him a political alliance, basically trying to bribe him to stop. And Sun Jian just told him to get lost.
And here's a little piece of trivia for you, something you might not know. You know that famous story from Romance of the Three Kingdoms where Guan Yu famously slays Hua Xiong? Well, that's fiction. The novel gave that win to Guan Yu to make him look even more awesome. But in reality, historically, that incredible victory belonged to Sun Jian, the Tiger of Jiangdong.
Okay, so he is at the absolute height of his power, his peak moment of glory. And then, he finds something. In the ruins of the capital, he finds an object that is going to change everything. It's going to seal his fate and make enemies of all his former friends. Just look at this timeline. It's insane how fast it all falls apart. All in 1 year, he goes from being the celebrated hero of the Han to a guy with a massive target on his back. And the thing that causes this whole train wreck? It's the imperial seal. So, why was finding this seal such a big deal? Well, it depends on how you look at it. From a purely historical, political point of view, it was a brilliant move. Remember, he doesn't have that fancy noble background. The seal gives him a claim to the throne, a kind of legitimacy he could never get otherwise. But the famous novel? It paints a totally different picture. It says it was just pure greed, a treasonous act that basically put a curse on him. So now, he's got the seal, but he's also got a whole lot of new enemies. He's made himself a massive threat, and you can just feel his story rushing towards a very violent end. And his death? Well, it was so perfectly him. He's fighting another general, sees the guy start to pull back,
Now, a cautious leader might hold back, right? Not Sun Jian. He gives in to that aggressive, tiger-like instinct, leads a small charge himself, and rides straight into an ambush, surrounded and killed. Just like that.
36. He was only 36 years old. All that fire, that incredible career, just snuffed out in a moment. It's such a tragedy because you have to wonder what else he could have accomplished.
You know, this quote just hits the nail on the head. His greatest strength was his greatest flaw. It's so true for him. That fearless, reckless courage that made him a legend, that's exactly what got him killed. He lived like a tiger, and yeah, he died like one too.
But here's the thing. His story doesn't really end with his death. His real legacy, it was the hardened army he built and that burning ambition he passed down to his kids, especially Sun Si and Sun Quan. They took what their dad started and they built an entire kingdom on it, the kingdom of Wu.
And years later, when his son, Sun Quan, finally becomes emperor, he gives his dad this posthumous title, Emperor Wu Li. It means martial and ardent. I mean, can you think of a better way to describe him? It's the perfect summary for the guy who dreamed of being an emperor and whose spirit, in the end, is what founded the dynasty.
So, that leaves us with the big question, right? What was he really? Was Sun Jian a hero, a good guy just swallowed up by the chaos of his time? Or was he just another power-hungry warlord, a tiger that was ultimately eaten by its own ferocity? Maybe the truth is he was a little bit of both.